This isn't just some fan theory. This is a story about what happens when profound trauma meets supreme intellect. It's about how Peter Parker, stripped of everything that made him who he is, has become a ticking time bomb of vulnerability. And it's about the one man in the multiverse smart enough, ruthless enough, and ambitious enough to see this vulnerability not as a tragedy, but as the opportunity of a lifetime. That man is Dr. Doom. And as unbelievable as it sounds, there's a growing wave of theories suggesting that when he finally arrives, he'll be wearing the face of Tony Stark. Today, we're going to break down, piece by piece, how Victor Von Doom could meticulously dismantle Peter Parker's psyche. We'll explore how he could use the ghost of Tony Stark to turn Spider-Man, the heart of the MCU, into the perfect, unsuspecting pawn for a plan that threatens all of reality. This is the story of how Dr. Doom could use Spider-Man to achieve his multiversal ambitions, and how Peter Parker's greatest loss will become his ultimate curse. To understand the terrifying genius of Doom's potential plan, you first have to get just how bad things are for Peter Parker right now. We have to look at the psychological wreckage left behind by Spider-Man No Way Home. It's a level of isolation that no other hero in the MCU has ever had to deal with. Peter Parker, as the world knew him, is gone. Erased. What's left is a ghost, haunting the edges of a life he can never get back. Think about the sheer weight of his losses. It wasn't just one thing. It was a domino effect of trauma that tore away his entire support system. First, and most importantly, was Tony Stark's death. For Peter, this was more than losing a mentor. It was like losing a father. Tony saw something in him, believed in him, and gave him the tools to be a hero. That grief has been a constant, aching wound, driving so many of his choices, both good and bad. Tony's death left a hole in his life that he's been desperately trying to fill ever since. Then came Mysterio, who weaponized that very grief, turning Peter's trust into a weapon for chaos. That whole nightmare taught Peter a brutal lesson. His vulnerability can and will be exploited. But the universe wasn't done with him. No Way Home was the final devastating blow. To save the multiverse, Peter made the ultimate sacrifice, giving up not just his future, but his entire past. He watched Aunt May, his last real family and his moral compass, die in his arms. This was the woman who raised him, his only source of unconditional love. Her death wasn't a distant casualty of war. It was an intimate, soul-crushing blow that cemented his loneliness. And then came the final, cruelest act. He had Doctor Strange cast a spell that erased Peter Parker from the memory of everyone he ever loved. Ned, MJ, Happy, his whole world, his found family. They all look at him and see a stranger. He is completely, utterly alone. No one to call. No one to confide in. No one to help carry the crushing weight of being Spider-Man. He swings through the city, a friendly neighborhood hero to people who have no idea who he is under the mask. This level of isolation is psychologically devastating. It breeds desperation, paranoia, and a deep, gnawing hunger for any piece of the connection he used to have. He's a powder keg of unresolved trauma, just waiting for a spark. And that spark is coming. Left behind in the chaos of No Way Home was a little piece of the Venom symbiote. We all know what this thing does. It doesn't just give you cool powers. It feeds on your emotions. It amplifies the darkest corners of its host's mind. For a Peter Parker already drowning in grief, loneliness, and a simmering rage at how unfair it all is, the symbiote is a catastrophic threat. It will find the cracks in his already fragile mind and pry them wide open. It'll tell him he's right to feel wronged, that he deserves more, that he should take what the world owes him. The symbiote will make him more aggressive, more impulsive, and most importantly, more susceptible to the influence of someone who knows exactly which buttons to push. This is the Peter Parker we have now. Not the bright-eyed kid from Queens, but a veteran of loss, a young man who has been psychologically torn apart, left with nothing but scar tissue and ghosts. He's at his breaking point, dangerously vulnerable and desperately craving a guide, a mentor, a father. And it's this broken, shattered version of Spider-Man that presents the most perfect opportunity a villain like Dr. Doom could ever hope for. To really get the brilliance of this whole theory, we need to talk about the man who would be pulling the strings, Victor Von Doom. In all of Marvel Comics, few villains have his level of pure genius, unbreakable will, and sheer gravitas. Doom isn't some mad titan trying to balance the universe or a god of mischief causing trouble. He's a ruler, a scientist, and a sorcerer. A master of all trades who believes in his very core that he alone is fit to rule. Born to a Romani family in the fictional nation of Latveria, Victor's life was shaped by loss and persecution. His mother, a powerful sorceress, was taken from him, and his father, a brilliant doctor, was hounded to his death by a cruel ruler. This early trauma didn't break Victor. It forged him into something harder. It gave him a relentless drive to master everything, science, magic, you name it, so he would never again be at the mercy of lesser men. He's a man of incredible dualities. He's a scientific genius who can go toe-to-toe with Reed Richards, but he's also a master of the mystic arts on par with Doctor Strange. This blend of science and sorcery makes him uniquely dangerous. He understands the laws of physics and the dark magic that binds reality. He can build a time machine in the morning and consult demons in the afternoon. This dual mastery gives him a perspective few can even imagine, letting him cook up plans that operate on multiple levels of reality at once. But his greatest weapon and his biggest flaw is his ego. Doom's arrogance is legendary. He genuinely believes he's smarter and more qualified to lead than anyone else on the planet. And to him, this isn't just talk, it's his core philosophy. He thinks humanity, left to its own devices, will just self-destruct. In his mind, his quest for world domination isn't about tyranny, it's about saving us from ourselves. He sees himself as the only one who can bring true peace, and any action, no matter how ruthless, is justified if it serves that noble goal. The idea that Robert Downey Jr. will return to the MCU, not as a Tony Stark variant, but as Victor Von Doom. At first it just sounds like fun fan service, but the more you think about it, the more you realize it's a stroke of narrative genius that could create some unbelievable psychological drama. The theory isn't just that Doom happens to look like Tony Stark, it's that this is a deliberate, calculated choice. Maybe this Doom comes from a universe where he became the armored genius, or maybe through his mastery of science and magic, he chose this face. He chose to wear the face of the MCU's greatest hero as a mask. Why this face? Because it's the ultimate psychological key. For the world, Tony Stark is a symbol of sacrifice. For the other heroes, he's a fallen friend. But for Peter Parker, he's so much more. This is where the story truly begins. What happens when a man with the intellect and ambition of Dr. Doom approaches a boy as broken as Peter Parker? And what if he does it while wearing the face of the one person Peter misses most? This isn't just about a physical disguise. It's about hijacking a legacy. It's about weaponizing grief. Doom wouldn't just look like Tony, he'd become the idea of Tony that Peter is so desperate for. A resurrected, maybe darker but familiar figure offering guidance in a world that's become terrifyingly empty. He would represent a chance for Peter to fix what's been broken, to have a father figure back in his life. A man with a god complex, peerless intellect, and a history of manipulation is about to meet a young hero at his absolute lowest. And if the rumors are true, he'll be carrying the perfect weapon to break him completely. The face of his mentor, Tony Stark. This isn't just a plan for conquest. It's a cold, psychological dissection of the MCU's most vulnerable hero. Picture it. Peter Parker, alone in his drab, empty apartment. He's patched up his cheap suit for the 10th time, a constant reminder of how far he's fallen. He's listening to a police scanner, the only voice that talks to him anymore. And then, a knock at the door. Or maybe something more dramatic, an iron suit landing on the roof. It's designed sleek and familiar, but with a new, regal style. The faceplate retracts, and Peter's world just stops. It's him. It's Tony Stark. Not exactly him, of course. He looks older, maybe. There's a different look in his eyes, a coldness, an intensity that's even sharper than Peter remembers. But it's the face, the goatee, the ghost that has haunted him every single day. This is where Doom's plan kicks into high gear, and the disguise the face of Tony Stark is the masterstroke. Why is this so deadly effective? Because it slips past all of Peter's defenses. After Mysterio's betrayal, Peter would be suspicious of any new charismatic figure offering help. He learned that lesson the hard way. But Tony isn't new. He's the entire foundation of Peter's heroic identity. Seeing that face would set off a storm of emotions, disbelief, confusion, hope, and an overwhelming wave of relief. The spider sense might be screaming, warning him of physical danger, but it's not designed for this kind of psychological attack. It warns of threats to Spider-Man, not the gaping wounds in Peter Parker's heart. This Tony wouldn't come in making threats. Doom is way too smart for that. He'd play the part of a weary savior brought back from the dead. His story would be a perfect mix of truth and lies. He could claim to be a variant from another universe, one who survived his own snap. Or, even better, he could claim to have been brought back by the same cosmic event that ripped open reality in No Way Home. He wouldn't present himself as a conqueror, but as an ally, someone who understands loss and is just trying to fix a broken multiverse. And then, he'd start applying pressure, targeting every single one of Peter's insecurities. He'd praise him, telling him how proud he is of the man he's become, validating all the sacrifices Peter made that no one else remembers. He'd offer him resources, a new suit, a lab, all the support he lost when Stark Industries forgot him. These aren't just gifts, they're hooks. Each one sinks a little deeper, making Peter more reliant, more trusting. But the real masterstroke would be the offer of the one thing Peter wants more than anything in the world: his life back. Doom, with his combined mastery of science and magic, could actually make this promise. A popular theory suggests Doom could offer to reverse Doctor Strange's memory spell. He could tell Peter, "That wizard was clumsy. He used a sledgehammer where a scalpel was needed, but I can fix it. I can make Ned and MJ remember you. I can give you your family back." This is the ultimate temptation. It's not about power or money. It's the promise of an end to his agonizing loneliness. The chance to go home again. For a young man who has lost everything, that offer would be nearly impossible to refuse. Doom would dangle the possibility of undoing Peter's greatest sacrifice, making him question if it was ever necessary. Was it a noble act? Or just the mistake of a scared kid that a real genius like Tony can finally correct? Slowly, patiently, Doom would reshape Peter's entire worldview. He'd feed him a story about cosmic injustice, about the incursions slowly destroying reality, and blame it all on the recklessness of heroes like Strange. He'd present himself as the only one with the vision and the will to stop it all. And he'd convince Peter that he, Spider-Man, is a crucial part of this grand design. He would make Peter feel special again. Not just a friendly neighborhood hero, but a key player on a cosmic chessboard. This would speak directly to the part of Peter that always wanted to live up to Tony Stark's legacy. Finally, a chance to prove himself to his mentor, to work by his side and save all of existence. And if the symbiote has bonded with Peter by this point, it would only make things worse, feeding on the surge of hope, but also amplifying his aggression, making him more willing to accept extreme measures and trust Tony's ruthless logic. Through this meticulous process, Doom wouldn't just be getting an ally. He'd be forging a pawn. A willing, loyal, and incredibly powerful pawn who trusts him without question. He'd turn Peter's love for Tony Stark into a chain, binding Spider-Man to his will. And Peter, believing he is finally getting his life back and fulfilling his destiny, would be walking step by step into a multiversal trap, completely unaware that the face of his savior is just a mask for his ultimate destroyer. Dr. Doom's ambitions have always been bigger than just one planet. He might rule Latveria, but his real goal is the throne of reality itself. In this grand multiversal chess game, every piece matters. And while breaking Peter Parker psychologically is a masterclass in cruelty, it's just the first move. The reason Doom would go to such incredible lengths to get Spider-Man on his side goes far beyond just getting another powerful soldier. The theory that takes this plan to a whole new level is the idea of anchor beings. This concept, recently introduced into the MCU, suggests that certain individuals are essential to the fabric of their home universe. They aren't just living in their reality, they are the linchpins holding it all together. If an anchor being is killed or removed, their universe starts to decay and will eventually fall apart. We saw this with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who was the anchor of the Fox X-Men universe. His death meant the death of his entire reality. This raises a chilling question. Who is the anchor for the main MCU timeline, Earth 616? While you can make a few arguments, a strong case can be made that it was Tony Stark. His sacrifice in Endgame was the defining moment of the entire Infinity Saga. But if Tony was the anchor and he's gone, does that mean the MCU is already decaying? This leads to an even more interesting idea. What if, in Tony's absence, the role of anchor being was passed down to his chosen successor, Peter Parker? Think about it. Peter's actions in the MCU have consistently had universe-altering consequences. It was his desperate plea to Doctor Strange that literally ripped open the multiverse in No Way Home. He keeps finding himself at the center of cosmic chaos. It's entirely possible that his very existence is a focal point for the stability of his reality. That would make him monumentally important. He isn't just a hero, he's a living, breathing keystone for his universe. And if anyone could figure that out, it would be Dr. Doom. Suddenly, Doom's plan becomes terrifyingly clear. He isn't just collecting powerful allies. One popular theory suggests he's on a multiversal crusade, hunting down anchor beings. By jumping from one reality to the next, he can identify these keystone individuals. If he controls them, he controls their universe. If he kills them, he erases that universe, creating chaos that he can then step in to fix. It's a strategy of cosmic arson burning down the multiverse just so he can rule over the ashes. And in Peter Parker, the suspected anchor being of the MCU's main reality, he finds the ultimate prize. By controlling Spider-Man, he gains leverage over the entire 616 universe. He doesn't need to fight the Avengers or Captain Marvel head-on. Why would he, when he holds the key to their very existence in his hand? He can give the heroes an impossible choice. Bow to me or watch your reality unravel, because your most beloved hero is now my loyal subject. His life is tied to yours, and his loyalty is tied to me. This changes Peter from a simple pawn into a human deterrent, a weapon of mass destruction aimed right at the heart of his own universe. Doom's manipulation is no longer just about mind games. It's about acquiring a strategic asset of unimaginable value. His offer to restore Peter's memories isn't just a temptation. It's the price he's willing to pay to get his hands on a multiversal keystone. This also explains why Doom needs Peter to be a willing participant. A dead or imprisoned anchor might just trigger the universe's decay, which is too chaotic even for him to control. But a loyal living anchor, that's a stable asset. He can move Peter around the board, using the threat of his death to bend entire realities to his will. Spider-Man becomes Dr. Doom's ultimate bargaining chip in his quest to conquer everything. This grander multiversal context adds a whole new layer of tragedy to Peter's story. He's not just being tricked because he's strong. He's being hunted for a quality he doesn't even know he has. The very thing that makes him so important to the universe is the same thing that makes him the perfect target for its greatest threat. He's caught in a cosmic web far bigger than any he could spin himself, manipulated by a villain who sees not a hero, not a boy, but a key to unlocking dominion over all of reality. But what do you think? Is Peter Parker the anchor being of the MCU? Or could it be someone else? Let me know your theories down in the comments. And if you're enjoying this breakdown of the MCU's potentially dark future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. The stage is now set for the final act of Dr. Doom's absolutely insane plan. He has his pawn, the loyal, psychologically broken Spider-Man. He holds his ultimate weapon, the unknowing anchor being of Earth 616. Now, it's time for checkmate. This is the climax, the moment where all the manipulation and multiversal ambition come together in a single, reality-shattering event, inspired by one of the greatest comic storylines ever, Secret Wars. In the 2015 Secret Wars comic, Dr. Doom does the unthinkable. As the multiverse collapses, he confronts the godlike beings responsible, the Beyonders, and steals their power. With it, he grabs the dying remnants of dozens of universes and stitches them together into a single planet, Battle World. On this world, Doom isn't a king, he is God. God Emperor Doom, the absolute ruler of a world populated by heroes and villains who don't remember the universe that came before. His word is law. The MCU is clearly heading towards a similar crisis. The idea of incursions, where two universes collide and destroy each other, has already been set up. The ultimate goal for a villain like Doom wouldn't be to just rule one planet, but to survive the collapse of everything and rebuild reality in his own image. To do that, he needs to trigger one final controlled incursion. He needs a catalyst. He needs Spider-Man. Here's how the climax could play out. Guided by his mentor, the man he thinks is Tony Stark, Peter is given a critical mission. Doom would frame it as the only way to save the multiverse. He'd tell Peter that a rogue universe is threatening to destroy everything and a precision strike is needed. He'd convince Peter that a heroic sacrifice is necessary, and that Peter, with his unique abilities and maybe some new tech from Tony, is the only one for the job. The target would be another universe, one handpicked by Doom. The mission would require Peter to use some kind of device or even channel his own energy at a specific point in that other reality. Peter, trusting Tony completely, would believe he's a hero saving the day. He'd swing into action, a loyal soldier following orders. But the moment he pulls the trigger, the horrifying truth would be revealed. He isn't stopping an incursion, he's causing one. The energy he unleashes doesn't stop a threat, it shatters the walls between realities. He is the detonator for Doom's multiversal bomb. The sky would rip open as two universes violently merge and tear each other apart. It would be chaos on a scale we've never seen. And in that moment of crisis, as heroes from both universes watch in horror, Dr. Doom would make his move. He wouldn't be down in the fight. He'd be at the center of the storm he created, ready to harness the immense energy being released. This is where he seizes godlike power. As the old multiverse dies, consumed by the incursion Peter started, Doom would step forward as the great savior. He'd reach out with his new power and catch the falling pieces of broken worlds. He'd take a piece of Asgard, a chunk of the X-Mansion, a slice of New York, and stitch them all together. He would create Battleworld, his new kingdom born from the ashes of his own making. And what about Peter Parker? The realization of what he's done would be his own personal hell. He would see the face of Tony Stark, his hero, twist into a triumphant sneer. He'd finally understand he was never a partner. He was just a tool. The man he trusted, the ghost he followed, was his greatest enemy all along. He'd see that his desperate need for a father figure was the weapon used to destroy everything. The betrayal would be absolute, a psychological blow he might never recover from. He, the hero who sacrifices everything for others, was tricked into causing their damnation. He pulled the trigger and Dr. Doom ascended to become the God Emperor of a new, twisted reality. The gambit paid off. The Age of Doom has begun. The dust settles. Not on a battlefield, but on a new, horrifying creation, Battleworld. A patchwork planet ruled by the iron fist of a man who now holds the power of a god. For Dr. Doom, this is the ultimate win. It's the proof of his entire life's philosophy. He saw the chaos of the multiverse, and in his mind, he brought order. He's no longer just the ruler of a tiny nation, he's the king of all that's left. His rule would be absolute, a world of enforced peace where his law is the only law. For the heroes, this is the ultimate defeat. They're now scattered across the different regions of Battleworld, many with broken or altered memories. They're survivors in a kingdom ruled by their greatest enemy. Their fight is no longer about saving the world, it's about surviving in a new one, setting the stage for the massive rebellion that would define a Secret Wars movie. But the most devastating fallout is saved for Peter Parker. Where does he fit in this new world? Doom, in his supreme arrogance, might even thank him. He might keep Peter close as a living trophy, a constant, painful reminder of the day a boy's grief handed him the keys to reality. Peter would be a broken man, forced to live with the knowledge that his greatest weakness, his love for Tony Stark, was used to destroy everything. The guilt would be a poison far worse than any symbiote could ever be. How could he ever atone for that? This becomes the heart of his new journey. He's no longer the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He is the man who helped build his own prison. His only path forward would be one of desperate, dangerous rebellion. He'd become a ghost in Doom's machine, working from the shadows, maybe trying to gather a small resistance. His mission would no longer be about protecting the innocent, but about dismantling a god's kingdom from the inside. He'd have to become something harder, something more ruthless, just to stand a chance. This sets up an incredible future. The shock of the betrayal would likely sever his bond with the symbiote which fed on his hope. Now, only despair remains. Or maybe the symbiote would revel in this new, rage-fueled Peter, pushing him down a darker path of vengeance instead of redemption. The ultimate question is, can Peter Parker ever forgive himself? Can he rally the scattered heroes and find a way to undo what he's done? He was the catalyst for this disaster, and he'd have to be the one to finish it. The fallout of Doom's plan doesn't just create a new world. It forges a new kind of hero one, tempered in the fires of absolute betrayal, tasked with the impossible mission of overthrowing a god he helped create. So we're left with a chilling but undeniably powerful story. A story that starts with a young hero's grief and ends with the birth of a god. By weaponizing Peter Parker's trauma and exploiting his potential status as a multiversal anchor being, Dr. Doom could pull off the most devastating victory in MCU history. By using the beloved face of Tony Stark, he could turn Spider-Man's greatest love into his greatest shame, tricking him into becoming the trigger for a multiversal collapse. The result would be Battleworld, a new reality forged from Doom's ambition, and a broken, guilt-ridden Spider-Man forced to lead a rebellion against the very god he helped put on the throne. This isn't just a theory about a new villain. It's a blueprint for a deeply personal, character-driven epic that could redefine the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a story that proves the most powerful weapon isn't an Infinity Stone, but the fragile, trusting heart of a hero who has nothing left to lose.